All right. Now I'm going to show you guys how to grid on the paper. Now all you have to do is to replicate the number of boxes on the picture to the paper. Now initially I graded the picture of the video. Now assuming I'm going to make a drawing of 10 centimeter by 15 centimeter. I'm using centimeter to make it much more easier. So what I'm going to do is I'll go back to the picture of the video that I graded. Now count the number of boxes on the row, which is this side, the row, and I have 11 and a half, almost not up to half, let's just call it 11 boxes, and the length of the row is 10 cm. Now all I have to do to get the size of the individual box is I'll say the length divided by the number of boxes, which is 10 cm over 11 boxes, which will give me 0.9 cm. So each on the row, each box will have a length of 0.9 cm. It's a little bit mathematics, but it's not hard. We can go to, so this is 0.9. 0.9. You mark with your rule. Now for all right, I've gotten the markings all over the borders of the drawing. I'm going to join with a very light pencil. Now what you have to note is while joining the lines, make sure your grid lines are very faint, because you are going to shade on top of them. So you make sure you don't use very light pressure, very light pressure on it. Very light pressure. On it. I'm going to skip this process to save time. As you can see, I'm through with the grading. I numbered them to avoid confusion, because if you're a beginner at this, you might get confused. So number them as it is numbered on the grid app, on the photo, graded photo. This number box 2 on the row, box 2, box 3, 4 to 11. Now 1 on the column, box 1 down to box 15. So that is it. Now you begin your drawing. You keep your phone by your side, you trace and draw along. If you have any question, you can drop on the group. So this is just the basics. Now this is on a much more smaller scale. You can, while you want to draw on a bigger scale, you can use bigger sizes. So I just demonstrated how I grid my drawings. So another thing to add is that this grid, the measurements might not be 100% efficient. Even if you are very careful, you might sometimes get an error of about 0.5 cm or so, but it doesn't really matter because it's always at the extreme. So you can equally leave those parts off. But the main thing is that to make sure the boxes are in square form, and that your grid lines are very light. As you can see, the borderline on this paper is much more thicker, and the grid lines are very light because I used two different pencils. This is a 4B Faber-Castell, and this is an ordinary graphite, a clutch pencil, 0.5 millimeter. with a very, very tiny graphite tip. So this is it. With the grid app, it will guide you to get accurate drawings. So while looking at the reference, the gridded reference, you can just, the grid lines will guide you to trace out the outlines. Starts from the upper left if you're a right-handed person, then if you're a left-handed person, it's always advisable to start from the top right. So another thing is, so take your time. The first time you will actually do this might not get it right, but subsequent ones, trust me, it will be much more easier. So the more you practice, the more you improve. So that's it for grading. It's not really a big deal. And another thing I want to add, if you're already good or much more comfortable with freehand outlining, I advise you just improve on your proportions, because this grading is just for people who don't really know how to do freehand sketching. But if you are comfortable with freehand sketching, that's actually the best, because that's a natural form of drawing. So this grading is an aid for outlining. So, but it's not a bad thing to use the grid. But if you are good with freehand sketching and proportions, that's a one up. That's really encouraging. So I encourage you to practice your proportions so that you can actually improve on that. Thank you.